What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, April 8th, 2020, middle of the weekday, hump day, starting that long, slow glide down to Pauhana Friday and another crazy weekend. We have a lot to talk about today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and opinions. So let's get right on into it. First of all, happy Passover to our Jewish listeners, all three of them. And this, of course, is the beginning of the week, and it's, you know, their big holiday of the year, and I remember that from my first marriage. Anyway, the big news today, of course, Bernie Sanders has suspended his campaign for president of the United States of America, and he apparently informed his staff about that. A lot of them were very unhappy. He has not, to my knowledge, endorsed Joe Biden, and he is staying on the ballot, and he wants to pick up as many delegates as he can, not because he can win the nomination, that's obviously gone, but he wants to be in a position to influence policy on the platform. So now the speculation here is, who is Joe Biden going to pick as his vice presidential running mate? And it was interesting, the Washington Post came out with an article earlier today listing the 11 most logical choices for Biden's running mate, all of them women, of course. And notably, Hillary Clinton was not on that list of 11. They had people like Kamala Harris, for example. And but I would not write Hillary off just yet, because Joe Biden by himself cannot beat Donald Trump. And I'm sure Biden's campaign knows that. But Hillary is still a force to be reckoned with. She still has her support base, and she still has her machine from 2016, and she has all the illegal votes. And so she may be in a position to convince Biden that, dangerous though it may be, having her as his running mate would actually give him a real shot against Donald Trump. So we'll see. We have the convention to look forward to on that. But yeah, that's the stuff of nightmares right there. Hillary is Biden's running mate, and then Biden wins the election, and then he has to step down because of his deteriorating mental condition, and Hillary finally gets to be the first woman president of the United States of America. Oh boy, would we be in the trouble then. I had another word I was going to use, but I can't use it on the radio. Anyway, as you're aware, Donald Trump fired the White House press secretary. Actually, it was kind of a sideways promotion, because the old one is now chief of staff for the First Lady. But apparently Trump has named Kayleigh McEnany as the White House press secretary. Now, McEnany was Trump's 2020 campaign spokeswoman, will be replacing Stephanie Grisham, who, as I said, is going over to be the First Lady's chief of staff. Now, Howard Stern, who invented the shock jock genre, if you will, of radio, thinks Jared Kushner is in over his head professionally regarding this whole coronavirus thing. And Stern said Jared Kushner is out of his depth as a pandemic expert and over his head with Ivanka Trump as a lover. And that's Stern's verdict. It's amazing how much profanity he gets away with on his radio show, all things considered. Meanwhile, getting back to Hillary Clinton, she's insinuating that Trump intends to cancel the November election, which is ridiculous. They may push for a virtual election. They may push for a more absentee election or more online election, all of which is open to rigging. Now, last month, Congress let the spy powers expire, and they're having almost no effect on current spying. In other words, it's gone back to being illegal, but the spy agencies are still doing it. So, House Democrats left the Capitol last Friday after passing the $2 trillion coronavirus relief legislation without taking up a Senate bill to temporarily revive 3 expired FBI surveillance tools for terrorism and espionage investigations, ensuring that the laws will remain lapsed at least until the Senate returns from vacation next month. Over in Great Britain, Dominic Raab is serving as temporary prime minister while Boris Johnson is still in the hospital. He's still in ICU on oxygen. and they're asking, who else could potentially run the British government if Johnson is unable to come back to work. So, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab is set for a whirlwind days or even weeks as COVID-19 infected Boris Johnson has asked the first Secretary of State to deputize for him in forthcoming meetings while he's being treated in the hospital. UK Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove Tuesday mornings confirmed that while Boris Johnson's being treated, the one running the British government is the Foreign Secretary Raab. So that's what's going on over there. Somebody's trying to spread a rumor that Boris Johnson has already died, and they're keeping it secret until they can get things transitioned out here. But I think this is more fake news. All right, we're going to take a phone call now. Argon in New Jersey. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Hello, Argon. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're on the air.
Okay. So, Mike, I was thinking that, we have these, these hand sanitizers. So, is it possible that if we convert these hand sanitizers into smoke, like we can put them in a hookah or, try to vaporize them in by some way, like we smoke cigarettes, try to vaporize the particles of these hand sanitizers.
There's a problem with that. There's a problem with that. Okay, the hand sanitizers are made with denatured alcohol, and denatured alcohol contains chemicals in it that make it poisonous so that people don't buy it to drink.
Oh, so if you put it in your lungs, so it's going to poison you.
Yes, it will.
Okay.
At the very least, it'll make you blind.
Okay. So there are two more things. There was another thing I was thinking. There's a thing called camphor, and if you put it just outside, it will evaporate. And does it have any properties to kill the bacteria and viruses by any chance, or it's used like when you pray, sometimes some of the religions, they pray, they use this camphor for burning, and it also has a lot of properties to kill these viruses and bacteria. And I was thinking, if it's placed in the masks, and then if we try to smell that, could it attack this coronavirus in the lungs?
I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. I have to say I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Oh, no, I'm neither. I was just thinking about these things. And there's one more thing. It's called alum. And I've seen there are some Asian countries I went to, and I saw they use this alum, after they shave, after they do your shave, they will use this alum on your cheeks, This also has lot of properties to kill the viruses and bacteria. And I've seen in some countries they put it in your mouth, this alum water in your mouth, and it kills your bacteria and viruses thing. So if we place this outside our masks, the coronavirus that is going to attack is going to come towards you through your mask. It might automatically get killed just there. So I mean, these are just things that I was thinking about, what is your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is I don't have an opinion because, as I said, I'm not a doctor. I know that first suggestion of yours would be very, very dangerous indeed, and maybe somebody who actually is a doctor could call in to discuss the camphor and the alum suggestions.
Okay, sure. So Mike, I have heard lot of people, they call about coronavirus and everything, but I have not heard your opinion. What do you think that, how do you perceive this thing? Do you think they have lied to us about Iraq war and everything, weapon of mass destructions and everything? You point out in your documentary Bankers Wars and everything. But what is your opinion? Is it hyped up out of proportion, or is it real? What is your opinion on this thing?
Well, my opinion is there's really a virus out there, and it's really making people sick, and it's really killing people. But I think this is a sort of a replay of the 2009 When Pigs Fly flu, where there's this incredible media and government hysteria over the illness that is not justified by the actual numbers of the sick and the fatalities. And I'm not trying to trivialize the people who got sick, and I'm not trying to trivialize the people who have died from this, but it did not turn out to be the monster that it was initially being presented as. So I think we're looking at a massive overreaction by government and the media.
Very true, very true. Well, thank you, Mike, for taking my call, and talk to you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to switch over to Mark in Texas. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I agree with your assessment. We can't have Biden and whoever he picks. And I supported Trump, but with him closing the economy, there's no way I could support him. We need a third-party candidate. We've got about 7 months, and I just wanted to see what you thought about that.
Well, if Tulsi Gabbard went third party, I'd support her.
Well, we got to put somebody together. I mean, I don't know who, but we gotta get somebody to break this two-party monopoly. Otherwise, we're going to keep getting the same stuff, right?
Agreed. But if I don't know anybody who's out there who's strong enough, who's popular enough to be that third party candidate.
How about Pat Buchanan?
He's getting a little long in the tooth, if you don't mind my saying.
Well, he'd fit in perfect with Biden and Trump, right? They're all old, so I don't know. I mean, we got to do something. We can't just sit by and watch, right?
Well, again, we've got to find somebody that we could get behind and convince them to run as third party. It's a little late to get started. I mean, they're going to be late out the gate, for this particular horse race.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the timing is perfect. I think people are starting to see Trump's true colors, or at least I am. I don't know about anybody else. And, we have no options. So, even Rush Limbaugh, for God's sake. I mean, anybody would be better.
Well, I don't know if Rush has political ambitions. He certainly has the audience, though. It's an interesting idea.
I think that's something that we ought to talk about, and maybe some of your listeners could throw out a few names. But anyway, that's my only point, Mike. And I really enjoy listening to you. Keep up the great work, brother.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Peter, hello. Welcome to the show. What is on your mind?
Mike, there's a couple things that are a little worrisome that are above and beyond what's the virus. But concerning it, one is I just read an article, it might have been on your site, that only about a third of the people who have recovered from COVID-19 have built up, have either very small amounts of antibodies or none at all.
Well, that would explain why so many people who've recovered can, come down with it again.
Yeah, and which means that we're going to be hit with this again and again and again as it goes into animals, which we found out the other day, and maybe into other animals, from cats to rats, and morphs into totally different, versions of it. God knows how long this could go. Then Fauci today came out and said, according to a friend of mine who just called me up and told me this right before, that in his opinion, people should stop shaking hands for the rest of their lives, which leads to the question of, well, what about making love? How about perpetuation of the species? It all goes hand in hand, by the way, with no money and no currency, right? And also total social distancing. Talk about divide and conquer. And one other thing, Mike, I wanted to point out. I sent these to you. I'm not sure if you ran them now because I haven't gone over the whole thing. But apparently the Department of Defense sent Israel 1 million masks to the IDF. 1 million
that was
masks.
a mistranslation. That was a mistranslation from the Jerusalem Post, and they've already retracted the story. What it is that an American office of an Israeli company bought the masks from China and sent them to Israel. And somebody botched the Hebrew translation, and that story was put out there, but apparently it's not true. I was upset when I saw it myself, but it's already.
Yeah, I was too. And then the next article I read was the Defense Department is telling the Marine Corps to use scarves. So, it's not like, we send them money for the Arrow, but we don't have air defense, but, they have the Arrow and they have all that. But nevertheless, yeah, I'm glad to hear that's not true, but it wouldn't surprise me under Trump anyways. But it's really, Mike, this is going to radically change, obviously, our economy, the way we interact. It's going to affect the core of who we are, the social beings. It's going to affect our culture. It's going to affect, governments are going to fall like crazy. Millions and millions, maybe billions unemployed. And the social unrest that will come from that. This is huge. And if they are hyping this up, yeah. And then there's the whole question about why Corona, the quinine thing is being so completely pushed by Trump. And then, but they won't go all the way and say, this is it, this will do it. They always leave a lawyer like weasel way out that, well, but you got to talk to your doctor. But they're really promoting that. So.
Well, like I said earlier, there's been a tremendous overreaction to this, given the actual numbers of the sick and the dead. And I think at this point, we're going to start see them pulling back. I mean, Tucker Carlson's already out there saying we passed the peak 5 days ago. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and make a prediction that by the end of April, we're going to be told this has all gone away. You can go back to work and get our economy back on track.
I sure hope you're right. I remember saying a couple weeks ago, they knew that guys like us, old people, I'm referring to myself, USOS eaters, you definitely have a use, but us old USOS eaters that are in danger, we should be quarantine and stay at home. We're the biggest threat, but we should have gone on and just let this go. I mean, gone with masks, gone with gloves, gone with distancing, but let the economy go forward, in my opinion. Because this is really going to, it's the wealth transfer that's the most profound thing that's going on here.
Well, I think the economy was headed for a correction / recession / crash anyway, but they hyped up the coronavirus so that they could use that as the scapegoat and say the economy was doing really fine here. Yeah, it was doing fine until the virus showed up here. So it's all the virus fault that our economy has gone down the tubes, and it's got nothing to do with the bad mismanagement of the economy for the last 30 years.
106 years. But yes, Mike, it's just, I totally agree with that. And it's also allowed them to seal even faster. So, there's going to be not much left at all here. I mean, even if we go back to work in April, I don't know how we get out of this. It's hard to even estimate what the losses are. I 50, 60 trillion nationwide. I mean,
easy.
Worldwide. Yeah. I mean, nobody has a 401k or a pension. I mean, it's just...
Well, I know the stock market ended up today. The stock market had another good day today. Anyway, Peter, we're going to have to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. The phone lines are loading up, and we will be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And a reminder that Republic Broadcasting is in the middle of a fundraiser. And if you don't donate, frogs are going to crawl into your bedroom at night and nibble on your fingers. So this is getting really, really serious out there. The postal address, if you want to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. And we're just now getting the breaking news. Linda Tripp, who was this central figure in the Monica Lewinsky, Bill Clinton sex scandal, has passed away today. And she'd been sick for a while. So exact cause of death has not been specified yet. They'll probably blame it on the coronavirus. But that just now came on in. So we're going to go back to the phones here to Casey in North Idaho. Aloha, Casey. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. How are you doing? How's your health?
I'm doing well. Getting better every day.
All right, great. We missed you there while you were gone, so great that you and Claire are back. I'm calling today because we have a problem up here in North Idaho, which is quite a patriot-loving area. I was driving through Lewiston, Idaho, which is a different county than where I am from. I live in Kootenai County. I was pulled over by a sheriff's deputy who stated that he thought he saw my son holding a camera, which he was. He was shooting B-roll for me as we were coming into the town, and he said I was shooting camera also, which I wasn't. Anyways, he took my ID. He said, you're not supposed to be out for the governor's orders, and I said, that's not law. And he kind of, acknowledged that it wasn't, and went back to his car, came back with a flyer that basically stated, all residents must stay at home. And again, insisted that I stay at home. And he said that we can enforce this with Idaho Statute 18-705. And that's obstructing an officer. So he was saying they could enforce it with that. I'll try to make this really short and sweet. An ISP officer had shown up with him, Idaho State Police. And so that's a video on my YouTube channel. If you guys want to see it, it's doing quite well. But the main issue here, I went to the ISP 2 days later, talked to the captain commander, told him the situation. He did not want to really listen to me. He stated that, no, they wouldn't use this obstruction charge. They would use a health and welfare code. But I couldn't find out what that was. The very next day, just like yesterday, or maybe the day before, the Kootenai County Sheriff's Department busted a party of 25 to 30 teenagers that were assembling. They charged one kid with possession, I believe, of drugs. They were drinking, it sounds like, but they also charged him with a misdemeanor. And this is where this all comes into fruition here. This is a health and welfare code they charged him with for this misdemeanor. And it states that any person who violates an order of isolation or quarantine shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. So they actually charged him with that, and that's Title 56, Chapter 10, Section 7, Item C, if anyone in Idaho is interested in looking that up. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and we plan on doing some protesting up here over this.
Well, send me pictures and an updated report when you get your protest going here. Again, this whole isolation thing, and it's getting really out of hand. As of today, right now here in Indiana, the liquor stores are still open, but only for curbside pickup. You cannot physically go into the liquor store. The clerk will come on out, take your order, take your money, go on in, get what you want, come back with the change in your order, and then you get to go home. And, at least it's still there because, if we're not able to get our scotch and cigars, I'll lead a riot myself, actually. So,
I actually had one instance myself where I was, a gas station wouldn't take my cash. I had to use a card or go up the street to a different gas station. So I've experienced that personally once in central Washington. So I'm just letting you know about that. But, this is a big deal. They're using this health and welfare code to prevent us exercising our liberty. So if anybody wants to see that video, it's on my YouTube channel, North Idaho Exposed, and that's where any future videos will be too, as far as what's going on with this whole thing up here. So,
okay, so North Idaho Exposed is the channel name?
Yeah, and I actually sent you an email just a minute ago with the link to that statute that I just cited.
Oh, yeah, I got it right here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and post that. Okay,
all right, great.
So
thanks. I just want to share that with you. I don't want to take much more of your time.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. This idea of we can't take cash, but we'll take the card is ridiculous because the virus can live on the surface of those plastic cards. And, you take the card out of your wallet, you run your hands all over it, you stick it into that little machine, and any viruses that are on that card will transfer to the machine, which means the next person who comes on through and sticks their card on, the card gets the virus from the machine. And so you're still spreading the virus, even though you're using the plastic cards, because of the electrical contacts there. And the contactless cards, of course, have gone out of use because too many hackers could crack those remotely. Happened to my wife once, actually. So let's see. Anyway, we got to take another break for commercials, and we will be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show. We're going to go back to the phones to Miles in Maine. Aloha, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Miles in Maine, are you there? Okay, he dropped, so let's switch over to Steve Elkins. Steve, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I want to talk about some of these medications, the two anti-malarial medications, chloroquine and hydrochloroquine. And I just want to educate people to the side effects of these medications. One of them is arrhythmias. The other one's severe hypotension, muscular damage, which could lead to rhabdomyolysis and kidney failure, and also some neurological deficits. But keeping in mind that the elderly are most prone to this new virus out here, COVID-19, and understanding that they're on a boatload of medications. Most elderly people have a whole cabinet full. That these medications, if any of these people have, let's say, an ACE inhibitor or a beta blocker, an antihypertensive in their medicine cabinet there, that in combination with this here will drop their blood pressure out to nothing. No perfusion, we're talking death. And I would just assume that they're just padding the numbers anyway, the total death toll number for COVID-19. So if this medication given to a COVID-19 patient and they die, they'll simply say the COVID-19 killed them and not the medication itself. And they'll use this to pad their numbers, to bring greater numbers, to bring more fear. Last one I want to mention is using Zithromax. It's a great medication, great antibiotic. But if you're using it for a viral, you're going to end up creating more antibiotic resistance, bacterial resistance, and it's a bad thing to do. They've done this before. We talked about before the overprescribing of antibiotics, creating bug resistance, and creating the creation of the superbugs in the hospital. The problems we have with these problems, and they're going to be creating a whole new set of problems of antibiotic resistance. Nothing will work again. Back to the drawing board. The pharmaceuticals get back to the drawing board, try to find more medications, and pitch them our way. They are going to create a disaster for the hospitals by using Z-Pak or Zithromax for a viral. Now, it's not for viruses, but they're going to create this problem with the superbugs. They're going to create the resistance, antibiotic resistance, by using that medication.
Okay, that's good to know.
I haven't heard anybody talk about that. It's not even a consideration. It's amazing the people that should be stepping forward and talking about this are not talking about this. And they're going to create a perfect storm for hospitals that we can't treat this. We got infection, we can't treat it. And people are going to die because they're making another problem for us.
Well, remember John Hopkins said that the third leading cause of death in the United States is medical mistake. They don't talk about that.
That's true.
But, yeah, you have to be very, very careful. And I have been hearing some stuff about hydroxychloroquine, damaging your liver. And but, of course, you can't take any medication without having side effects. And that's something I'm personally having to deal with myself.
Yeah. Well, that's it for me, Mike. Have a great show. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Ray in Indiana. Aloha, Ray. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I'm a regular podcast listener, and I just got home from work, so I don't know if you had a chance to talk about this yet or not. But I assume you heard they've updated the models to the new totals. Have you talked about that?
No, we haven't yet.
Okay, they're now predicting 60,000 deaths. And the reason I want to bring it up is Dustin has been, and I love all your callers. You got great callers. I miss John from Barbados. I wish you'd get more international callers, but I do love all your callers, and I do love Dustin. But he is wrong about this shutdown on the economy. We are there are going to be more people. There's going to be more pain and suffering from this shutdown than there is from the coronavirus. They're now predicting 60,000 deaths for the year. We had 80,000 people die last year from the flu. So we're now getting into the possibility of less people dying, from this. And he like I say, I'm a podcast listener. So he calls in and he talks about all the numbers from all around the world. The last 2 years, we've averaged almost 7,700 people a day die in the United States. And, every death is, a tragedy to some family along the line. And I'm sorry about that. But the numbers are showing that these people were in poor health to start with, and the corona pushed it over the edge. So we overreacted, and Dustin keeps saying multiple times how we need to shut this down. That is the wrong answer. And further numbers that came out today was that using CDC's numbers about New York cases, only less than 2% of the deaths in New York were corona only. All the rest had other factors involved. So the 60,000 that they're predicting to die this year, those are not all new deaths. My point is, a large percentage of those people would have died anyway without the corona. So
it's a valid point.
Yeah, thank you. This shutdown is going to cause a lot more pain and suffering. Illinois was on the verge of the state of Illinois was on the verge of bankruptcy. This could put them over the edge into bankruptcy. Then all those state people are going to lose their state pensions. Any benefits that they had out are all going to disappear. You can see thousands and thousands of people that end up dying because of this shutdown. So we need to get correct. So anyway, the reason I called was I have not been able to get a correct answer on the accuracy of the test. Do you have any knowledge on the accuracy of the test that they're using?
Well, I'm hearing that, and this could just be China bashing, but I'm hearing that the tests bought from China are unreliable. Even the CDC is saying that the tests they're using now, especially the PCR test, is producing not only false positives, but false negatives. So they're not reliable. And everybody's racing to try and find something that's got a higher success rate, a higher accuracy rate.
Right. And along those lines, there was a professor, Dr. J. Bhattacharya, I think that's how you pronounce his name, wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal, March 24th, and saying that those projections are way overblown, that the death rate could actually even be down as low as 100%, because we don't know, we don't have an accurate number of the test. We don't have an accurate test out there, and I am so disappointed that this far into this problem, and we don't have an accurate test. That somebody should be held responsible. And I think that's CDC's fault for not having an accurate test. Because my understanding, they didn't even approve a test till February 4th. They didn't even make a test available till February 4th. Anyway, I just wanted to put in my 2 cents of how wrong Dustin is on this shutdown, shelter in place, lockdown, whatever you want to call it. And as the numbers come out, as the new numbers come out, and they're giving new projections per state they're getting way lower. And if we did all this just to save our medical industry, that was another major mistake, because there's a website called COVID Tracking, and if you look at Indiana on COVID tracking, I'm pulled. I got it right here in front of me. I'm trying to pull it up. Sorry. Indiana numbers right here. Come on, darn it. Well, I had it up there a minute ago. The whole point is, the couple thousand people that I think there was less than 1,000 people in Indiana in the hospital.
Yes.
And if that is what, if that's going to shut down our medical industry, then we need to have a better response to that. Yeah, right now there are currently 924 people in ICU in the state of Indiana. 507 are on ventilators. If those kind of numbers are going to shut down our medical industry, then we need to revamp our medical industry. Those should be doable numbers for the state of Indiana.
They should be. And yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you very much for the information. And we're going to let you go and switch over to Mitchell in Tennessee. Aloha, Mitchell. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Michael, what's going on? Listen, I want to switch gears. I'm sort of in an area that I don't know a lot about, so I wanted to get your advice or your information. Have you heard of the thing called the CAFRs?
The
Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Yeah, and I remember Ron Paul talking about it years ago, and there's a guy named Minnie Jack Van, and he did one in 2012. It's Introduction to CAFR, Why You Can't Get Ahead, and then he did another one called The CAFR Swindle, The Biggest Game in Town. And from what I understand, the CAFRs are these funds, rainy day funds, where they have billions of dollars. I think they started doing this in like 1946. And so what I want to ask you is, if this is true, that they have billions of dollars in all these different municipalities held back, that would be money that's already considered, help me out here, that would be already M1 money. Therefore, if we, the people, could get access to these damn CAFR funds, everybody could sit tight and have money. It wouldn't devalue the dollar with inflation. If there truly is these billions of dollars that the people could, if we could access this money and maybe float 2 or 3 months, everybody could get some money to live on and maybe decide what we're going to do about this whole government problem. What do you say?
Well, the problem with the comprehensive annual financial reports is they're mostly based on what would be called non-convertible assets, buildings, fire trucks, police cars, things like that, that the governments are not really free to sell, mostly the buildings and the real estate. And so it's not like they have that $1 billion in a bank account someplace. It's the estimated worth of the government's assets, and that's what the CAFRs are all about.
Well, let me jump in here. What this guy's saying is that there is money, and they invest it. They're constantly investing this money. So the question is, I don't know. Would you take a gander at that? The CAFR swindle, the biggest game in town, and just tell me maybe tomorrow or something, because this could be a possible solution if there's really access to actual. Because I think they have a lot of these funds. They can invest this money, and it's supposedly a great deal of money. Now, how you get them to open the books or access, I don't know. I mean, I'm not advocating anything, but we did just have 22,000 people in Virginia, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So no more said, but I don't have enough knowledge on this. But if there is billions of dollars in all these different municipalities that could be accessible money, I know what you're talking about. You know, bricks and mortar assets. So I'm talking about actual money that could be accessed. This could go a long way. And if a global pandemic is not an emergency, then I don't know what is.
Well, as that previous caller mentioned, we have states like Illinois that are on the verge of bankruptcy, and one would think that any cash assets they had available would have been liquidated by now to stay out of bankruptcy. So again,
that's what Mindy Jack Van talks about. He talks about that exact thing where they always act like we're always on the edge of bankruptcy, and they don't go into the CAFR funds. And they say, well, we overwent the budget and we need to raise your taxes or property taxes and play this kind of game. So I don't have any knowledge on this enough to really speak to it. If you could take a look at this, I don't know. I would like. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I was just curious about this.
Well, I'll take another look at it, but as I said, I looked at it before, and basically the value of the comprehensive annual financial reports is mostly based in, as you put it, the brick and mortar assets, which are not convertible to cash. So I'll take another look at it, but I don't think it's likely to change my mind. Anyway, thank you very much for the phone call.
The CAFR swindle, the biggest game in town.
Okay, we're going to switch over to Dan in Washington. Aloha, Dan in Washington. What's on your mind today?
Hey, thanks for taking the call. I think people are having I don't think the economy will be that negatively impacted as long as they give out the expanded unemployment insurance, and help out some small businesses. But I think things could easily snap back. And I think I drive all around the country. Most of the economy, as far as the essential stuff, is still flowing really good. But I think the guy caller from California had this ominous view of it, and he mentioned people's 401k plans. But for years, okay, people have been saying, the Reaganite movement, all this stuff is trying to get people to go in the 401k plan versus Social Security. And then now they're trying to say Social Security is pointless and sucks, and they've taken all the money out of it. And what we really need is everyone in the 401k plan. But the beauty of this virus and the beauty of 2008 should have shown people that your 401k plan is mostly based on fraud. It's based on the stock exchange has no patriotism. It represents global corporations. When they have a war, the stocks go up. When they ship factories out of America, the stocks go up. So frankly, I'm happy. And Trump, okay, they did the corporate tax cut, and then they bought back their own stocks, and he goes around saying how great the economy is.
Okay, Dan.
Can I hold over?
Yeah, I'm going to hold you over. Don't hang up. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're still talking with Dan in Washington State. And Dan, if you could just kind of pick up where you left off.
Okay, yeah. And, recently, okay, they did the tax cuts, so they bring back all this money that they were dodging taxes. And then the stock market goes up. Okay, and then the first thing they do is start saying how great the economy is and we need more immigrants than ever because there's so many jobs. The economy is so great, when in reality, there wasn't really any factories coming back. And they will still probably fight to keep any, like making masks or medical essential. They'll still probably fight to keep that stuff made overseas. So I'm glad that it's all imploding, and I hope the market goes down to like 7,000. And I think we should fight for just expanded unemployment. I don't think there's going to be a revolution because most people, if you give them an expanded unemployment, are just going to sit at home and enjoy it. Most people really could care less. So as long as they keep doing that and just suck all the money out of Wall Street and give it, basically destroy the whole system is what I kind of hope happens. Because it's the 401k plan is based on fraud. It's based on treason. It's blood money. It's criminal. So, and people should have found that out in 2008. So I'm sorry, but I don't feel bad if people's 401k goes down to zero, and hopefully they'll get rid of the 401k, but our system's too corrupt right now. So that's my point of view on it all.
Messed up. There's no question that the system has broken down for a lot of people. I personally don't want to see the 401ks get destroyed because so many people are on them. But again, most 401ks are invested in the stock market, and they keep pushing that stock market back up, not necessarily to protect the 401ks, but to use it as a banner for the economy. They've been doing that ever since the Clinton years, where they wave around those soaring stock market numbers and say, see, the economy is good, the economy is good. And if you're going hungry and if you've lost your job and house, well, it has to be your fault, because look at the stock market, it's doing really well. And so the economy is doing really well. But the stock market has become disconnected from the real world economic activity of the American people.
Exactly. It represents global corporations after the 80s. After 1980s, before then, there was really no global corporations historically, but it's all global. They take a factory from America, they shut it down, they go to China or wherever, and their stock goes up. And then the people on TV tell you how great the economy is doing. So we've been getting hosed like that for 40 years, and I'm happy to see it all collapse myself. So I think there needs to be a new system. They need to reform the pension system, which is Social Security, and expand on that so people can not be affiliated with this market. I just see the market as an immoral, corrupt thing, totally. So thanks a lot.
All right. Well, listen, Dan, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for station identification. We got more callers waiting on the other side of the hour, and we'll be right back with hour two. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number two. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And we're going to go back to the phones now to Al in Canada. Aloha, Al. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I was listening to not the last caller, the one before that, talk about the CAFR funds. I've heard Ron Paul talk about them. And, yeah, it's like you said. I mean, they're really... they're assets, right? They're not really... Mike, do you know of any government, past or present, that has ever spent within their limits?
Andrew Jackson's the last one, I think.
Well, I mean, like in your lifetime.
No, not in my lifetime. Definitely not. And I'm an old guy.
No. Well, you're not that old. But there's no such thing. I mean, it's the very reason why banks still exist is because of government, large S. Because even if the populace can't afford to go into debt even deeper, the government will do it for them. It's what keeps the banks up. It's what keeps the economy afloat. If you want to call it an economy. The economy, people... a lot of your listeners, they know exactly what's going on, but most people don't even understand the concept of currency and what exactly it is. They have no idea. So governments, I mean, they're lobbied by any and everyone that can get their foot in the door. And one of the biggest ones are, of course, bankers and insurance companies, because they're basically both the same thing. They just fritter away, currency. They invested in these things that they themselves have made up, like derivatives.
Yes.
And it's all just a scam. They're just machinations. It's not real. Like your last caller is talking about the stock market. Yeah, the stock market, and what they don't really tell you are that the number of companies in the stock market, especially the NASDAQ, is dwindling. So, I mean, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I mean, people need to really smarten up, but it's not going to happen because we're not allowed to smarten up. The teachers, they basically run the states now. Their unions are so strong and so heavily invested, in the economy that they actually control the shots, and they're not very bright people. I mean, maybe the ones that are sitting in the unions calling the shots, yeah, they kind of know what's going on, but the actual teachers themselves, they're not bright. When I went to school, I mean, just public school, teachers had, a BA and an MA. And it wasn't, in some kind of crappy little, basket weaving course. Like my grade 6 shop teacher had a master's in mathematics, And we said, well, why are you teaching shop? Because this is what I like to do. That was his answer.
Yep.
So, this is just shameful that people fall for this nonsense. I mean, they carry around their stupid little cell phones, these smartphones with a quad-core processor in them. They're being tracked everywhere they go. Everywhere. All they are just cookie machines. And for Google Analytics and Google GPS and all this crapola, and they have no idea. And they're on the crack book and Instagram and instant twit-face stupid stuff. They have no idea what the real world's all about. Unfortunately, that's the sort of thing that is shaping the real world, and it's becoming even worse than it was even a few years ago because of this crap. It's pathetic. And I don't know. I don't see any way out of this, Mike. I think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. The government's grabbing more and more and more power, and we're losing more and more of our liberty. The best thing that could happen is it could all collapse.
Yes.
And it should be right now, but it won't.
I disagree. I think we're getting closer and closer to a Soviet Union-style collapse.
Well, you know what? I say let's bring it on. I mean, I'm ready for it. I think this is, it's time now, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Jeff Bezos is going to come out of this, like I said before, he's going to be worth $150 or $200 billion. And they're going to come out with some kind of vaccination that probably will either leave you with boils or you're sterile, which is great. That's perfect. That's what they want. Less people on the planet so they can have more and everyone else gets less. But either way, just like you and Dustin's always, it's all coming apart. But at the same time, it's being held together, and it's so paper thin, and people just, you have to see it for what it really is. And this is all crap. This was meant to happen, and this COVID-19, I call it the cornhole virus, was meant to happen to give them an excuse why it all fell apart. It fell apart because of their machinations.
Yes.
These bankers and these greedy money junkies. They're just greedy, stupid little people. They're like these casino addicts, and their heads always spinning with different ways, conniving, stirring the pot, ways of extracting wealth from other people without actually even doing anything. You don't build anything. There's no research and development. There's nothing. It's just fraud on top of fraud on top of fraud on top of fraud to the point where we're in derivative territory. Brooksley Borns was fired over blowing the whistle on that nonsense, and no one even talks about that. And there's quadrillions of quote-unquote dollars, which, is actually not real. Anyway, I think I got myself wound up, Mike.
Yes, I think you did.
Oh, yeah. This just kills me. I mean, Jesus. Has Dustin called in today? Because I kind of got in a little late.
He's waiting on the list. A few more callers down.
Okay. Well, then I'll let you go. Thanks a lot for letting me rant there, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, you've got it. Thank you for the call. We're going to switch over to Bob in Colorado. Hello, Bob. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Bob in Colorado. We lost Bob. Okay, so let's go to Jim in Illinois. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
A couple of things. Earlier in the show, you mentioned that you felt the government and the media are overblowing this virus that we are experiencing right now.
Yes.
You might or you might not be right, but every 25 seconds, someone is dying from this virus.
Yeah, but if you look at the death rates from other causes like traffic accidents and the ordinary seasonal flu, that'll kind of put it in perspective.
Well, I would agree with that, but this virus seems more deadly than those two things that you mentioned. And not only that, though, yesterday on the news they were mainly talking about why is it affecting the urban community. And I can understand why that is. But one community that they won't talk about, and it's definitely affected them, is the Jewish community. I mean, like outside of Chicago is a town called Skokie, Illinois, which is primarily Jewish, and there's more incidents of this virus in that community than anywhere else in the state of Illinois. And look at New York and New Jersey. You know, a lot of Jewish communities are affected by that, but yet still they won't mention that.
Well, everybody's afraid about talking about the Jewish population.
Right, especially on a day like today when it's Passover. And the final thing, Donald Trump is out there promoting this drug for malaria. I read in the paper this morning, and I don't know if it's fake news or not, they said he's a major stockholder in that particular drug and company.
Well, that certainly would go a long way. This is the reason we're supposed to have a blind trust for the president. So that
right. I would agree with you.
Yeah, and you know, just putting his empire under the control of his family members, you know, obviously there's some communication going on there.
Right. And I am not a fan of, what's his name, the DJ, Howard Stern. Yeah, but he was right about Jared Kushner. The guy is incompetent, and he's way over his head. I mean, when he doesn't even have any kind of a background in science, or did he ever take a science course in college?
Not that I'm aware of.
Right. So, Michael, I'm going to let you go because I know your phones are tied up. Take care and God bless.
All right. Thanks an awful lot for the call, and we're going to switch over to Dustin in New Jersey. Hello, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Jared Kushner might have not been investigated, but his father sure as hell was by Chris Christie. Right? Put him in prison, right? Kushner's father was corrupt,
yes.
So, you know, what do they say that? What's the saying with the sun doesn't fall far from the tree, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, corruption kind of grows in the family. But, all right, so Al called in. Al is actually right. And the other, I forgot the other listener's name, I'm sorry. But, yeah, isn't it amazing, like, with a pandemic or something else that happens in the world that's serious, none of these companies got a rainy day. They didn't save up money. They put it back into the stock market. They took their money and then bought their own stocks back to prop up the economy. That's it.
Yes,
obviously a rigged
now
system.
they're asking for bailouts.
Yeah, and then they asked for bailouts. And you know what, Mike? They got them. They got them from what? Obama. They got them from Bush. They get them from Clinton, and they got them from Trump. All you patriots, Trump gave them the bailout. Okay, how much did the American people actually get from the hell of a lot less than the corporate bailout, wasn't it?
If you're talking about the coronavirus relief bill, this most recent one,
yeah,
the corporations got the lion's share of the largesse.
And like I said, where was all those corporate? Where's any of these corporations' rainy day fund? You know, they don't have it. Where's the American people's rainy day fund? We ain't got that either. You know why? Because we either ourselves blew it on crap, or the taxes, they take too many taxes out. That's why.
I would go with that second
we're in
one.
bad shape. Well, I mean, the problem with Mike, you know, I was thinking about this. I'm like, the other day, I'm like, you know, people wanted their big homes and their lease expeditions, you know, their fancy Cadillac Escalades, you know, the big $70,000 trucks now, or whatever, $80,000 for some pickups, right? And their fancy Air Jordans. Now they're willing to spend for N95, ain't they? You know, if you're trying to get, you know, that because it's where the wind blows. You know, I went out today, man. A lot more people had masks on, at least protecting their faces. And that's from the same CDC and your own government that said, don't wear no mask. You don't need to wear a mask. Now they're saying don't. You know, I mean, these people don't know what they're doing. Doesn't matter if it's Trump, Bush, Clinton, Obama. They're all hacks. They got people in as hacks. They're just, it's where the wind blows. They'll change their mind, you know. Flip-flops. I said it before. Like John Kerry. Trump's got more flip-flops than John Kerry and Walmart. But so do them all. You know, I'm an equal opportunity offender. But Mike, on that other listener, he said, "Oh, it's only 60,000 people, like less than 60,000." How many people died in Spain and Italy already? And Mike, what date is that from? That's not even. That's those numbers are from because they didn't lock down. They locked down because they didn't want to lock down earlier, Spain and Italy, because of the tourism. That was it, right? So they got those high numbers. Now, I might be wrong. I might be right, but wait for Sweden's numbers to come in eventually, because I think they got a population of 10 and a quarter million or something, and or 10,088,000, something around there. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of the numbers are just, it has to do with your demographics, the age bracket, obesity, smoking. But this whole thing is not about, like, I know, was it Peter who said, like, people are getting it that they're getting new the symptoms, like there's no antibodies in their system. Or was that Steve Elkins who said that? Like
No, it's one of the earlier callers saying that people who've gotten coronavirus and recover from it, that 1/3 of them don't develop antibodies.
So what does that mean? They can get it again?
Yes.
Then how do you open an economy if they're going to get it again working at a store? See,
very carefully.
Problem. Yeah, because remember this, that party, somebody called in from what, Idaho, I believe?
Yes.
They were driving with a party of 25 people. Well, those 25 people are going to go home, and they can give it up to 3 or more people. Now, not all of them have 3 people, but you use that range, and then those people go out to the store. If they don't have masks, they don't have protection. Mike, you know what the problem is? They did this to, I said it before, they did everything off backwards. They should have locked down and had the whole country and then produce masks. They should have been producing masks and gloves, because at least, and at least they could have people protected them and then bring the economy back slowly. But now they're saying, wear handkerchiefs, wear this, wear that. They're all over the map. This is a disaster, and without the lockdowns on the East and West Coast, because that's where the majority of people live, right? Like, I don't even know, Mike, I don't even know what the numbers were going to be, but they'd be a lot more than where they're at now, right? Like, agreed?
Yes.
I mean, if you didn't lock down, everybody would be walking around into each other, so. But I was just reading a report in South Florida. There's cases popping up a lot over there, so it's moving. I mean, this ain't a East-West Coast problem. It's a country. It's moving. It's going to be moving around back and forth because it's just nobody's like, where's the mask? Like, I want to know, like, I mean, geez, you should go to Walmart and be able to have masks. Wasn't Walmart supposed to have testing centers and Target and all this other? I mean, there's just nothing going on, Mike. I mean, there's just.
Well, we're going to Walmart tomorrow, and I'll have a report on that. I do know that our local Walmart where we go, it's set up, with, the little X's on the floor to keep you apart, and little sanitizing stations so you can wipe off the handlebar on the shopping cart and that kind of a thing. And we're hoping that they're not enforcing the 1 person per cart rule, because obviously Claire goes with me when we go shopping. So we'll see. I'll let you know tomorrow what happens.
Yeah, because like when I went today, they had the recording, people on like walking around, stay 6 feet apart, which, obviously you do want to keep 6 feet apart, but they just didn't have anything there wasn't many people actually at Walmart well, I was surprised, but no toilet paper and paper towels though. So that tells you New Jersey we're effed, but like they just didn't have there was nobody there to keep people from coming in, like 6 people, 10 people at a time. So it's just all BS. If you don't have people there, like the police or somebody allowing a certain group of people in, like outside, say, then it's not going to work, because you'll have just a group of people coming in. Because you know what, Mike? They closed the parks down here yesterday in New Jersey. You know why?
Yeah. Because
people weren't following what they were told to do, because, human beings don't want to be told what to do.
Yes.
So they had to close them because people were all gathered in the groups, and stuff. Kind of like that video in the UK where everybody was like out in the sun in the park picnicking in groups. Like, you know, it's just Mike, it's not only the government is heavy-handed or states, but it's actually not American people, but just people in general are kind of ignorant. You know, like, we've never been in this before. You know, I mean, what's the last time we had like something like this? A Spanish flu, maybe, where they wore masks and stuff. Nothing since then, right? Like, we never really had this. Name the last time you saw all these people wearing masks, you know, like it was 1918, right?
Well, it's certainly weird. You can walk into a bank with a mask and nobody gets upset. Dustin, would you drop me an email? We have to let you go. We got to take another break for commercials. We've got callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Stacy in Florida. Hello, Stacy. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you for taking my call, Mike. I just want to give credit to Tom. He's one of your best contributors on your show, and others. Tom from Florida. Go, Tom. And I'd like to think that some of your listeners might be writing a couple notes, because I'm going to try to be quicker than some other callers. You've been allowing lots of time for callers, and your hours are dwindling now. So I'm going to say that if your listeners go to the archives, Saturday, April 4th, at Rick Adams' show, he had Dr. Lorraine Day on for 2 hours. She was a surgeon for many, many years in San Francisco. And all they have to do is listen to Dr. Lorraine Day, and many of their answers will be there with that woman. And also, Steve Elkin's show, which was, let me see, Saturday, I'm trying to remember. Sunday night he has his own show, right. So if they go to the archives for Steve Elkin's show, Sunday night, he had some incredible people that called in, namely a man named Sal and another very educated man after Sal, and many of their questions may be partially answered by listening to Steve Elkins. And I know Tom speaks about TB, tuberculosis, making a comeback, which it did in 2019 in our country, to 9,000 cases. But none of us had heard about any quarantine or any masks or any panicking over 9,000 just in our country from people coming in probably from other countries. So if there's 9,000 cases in our country, you can imagine how many cases there are worldwide. I hear no panic about that, or quarantines or lockdowns. TB and leprosy are killers. You do not live with either of those diseases. And many people have recovered from this coronavirus. And I don't understand why we are subject to such grave diseases, and nobody does a whimper about it. It's just not talked about. And also, Mike, I'm trying to hurry. We tend to not believe the mainstream media, the people that listen to your programs and other alternative networks. And but all of a sudden, we're all believing the numbers. Everybody's saying, oh, how many, all these thousands of people are dying. Who is verifying those numbers? Can Justin verify that many people, or Dustin, I'm sorry, that many people specifically died in New York? Who is verifying those numbers? We want to know. And also, we all know that people do body doubles for important people. And we don't really know if the Prime Minister of UK truly is hospitalized, because currently they're actually using dummies in bags in beds and taking pictures of them and sending them out worldwide to make it look like they're victims of the disease. And that one network got caught using footage from an Italian hospital and had to admit it to try to make the numbers look much worse in New York. Now, this is divide and conquer, and the news media does lie by omission. And So if they lie by omission a lot, what is going to stop them from lying by omission? In this case, why are we buying everything they're saying? Okay, now the Hasidic Jews, and I'm not against any religion. Everybody has a right to practice their religion. The Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn currently are protesting the lockdown scenario. They're not listening to anything. They're not doing masks and gloves and whatever. They're doing what they normally do. So the other man that called in said that there's an outbreak in Jewish community. There may be somewhere else, but I don't see the Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn. You can go to Daily Mail and you can see their picture, and they're perfectly roaming around without any protection whatsoever, and actually defying orders. And I'm not encouraging defying orders. I'm just saying they're not concerned. If your listeners go to Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, that will also be extremely informing. And they can also access the Rutherford Institute. John Whitehead specifically, he wrote an incredible piece on April 1st, describing the slippery slope that we're currently on. And Dr. Lorraine Day mentioned one point, and many points, but one that stuck with me, had said that they're not really all that concerned about keeping us healthy, and they act like they are, but they're really not. And if that's the case, Mike, and we all stay wonderfully pristine and healthy, and we can't do anything, what is the point of being healthy?
Okay, well, Stacy, I'm going to have to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. We just got a notification. We're under a tornado watch here until midnight tonight, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors with more phone calls. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones here to Dave in New York. Aloha, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes. Hi, Mike. I heard somebody commenting about something. I had to make another comment about it. They said there was footage from an Italian hospital shown on TV. You know, I saw that. They had Cuomo talking, and then they switched, and they showed that, and they went back to Cuomo, I believe. And they never said that footage was from a New York City hospital. So that was...
Yeah, but it was implied in the context. It was implied in the context. Now, the network has said it was an editing mistake. But it's still, it's a reminder that you can't.
Okay, so they're trying to cover it up. That it's rather strange they try to cover it up because they say checks are being printed, and they show a canned photo of $50 or $100 bills being printed or something like that. So yes. To me, that's just an example of canned footage. And for example, also they had a dummy on a ventilator, and this is right on RBN. A dummy on a ventilator photo in a video of a hospital. Well, they could never show the head of anybody anyway. So it's perfectly reasonable. And this is the only thing that they would show would be a dummy on a ventilator. And
it's
dishonest. There's a lot of dummies on ventilators, but
it's dishonest.
No, it's not dishonest.
It's a reminder that you can't trust what you see. It's a reminder you can't trust what you see on corporate media.
Well, they never said that this was a live person on a ventilator. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, they can't show a live person with their head on a ventilator. They can't. I talked to EMS people about this. They said, no, there's no way we would sue them.
Hang on a second. Having worked in the industry, okay, these are corporate media empires, if you will. They've got lots of money and lots of staff. I know they're running in the red here, but we expect a certain degree of professionalism to come from these people. And these kind of shortcuts, I understand using stock footage. They were talking about how there's a fourth U.S. aircraft carrier has come down with COVID-19, and they were showing pictures of Arleigh Burke cruisers. And, this is just the editors being lazy and careless.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, Mike, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of mind control going on here. I think they do this all with AI computers, and they figure out how everybody's going to respond. So, I mean, listen, they put stuff out so people can argue about it, and then we waste our time talking about stupid things. So, sorry about talking about something stupid there when I called about something else. First of all, the the estimated influenza disease burden by season put out by the CDC, and they're still showing estimated numbers for the 2018-19 season. They're saying that's 34,157. Now, that number differs quite a bit from the 80,000 that I keep hearing people say died last year. These are deaths, and so since they were deaths, I think they had tested these folks, and either they had some form of influenza, A, B, C, D, whatever, you know. So I don't know where they're getting those 80,000 death numbers from, and I realize that the CDC just calls these estimates anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
they're derived from models. They don't, nobody's actually going on out and counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all models, and the models are run by computers. Really? And of course, you've heard about the GIGO law, right?
No,
garbage in, garbage out.
Seriously.
Yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, sure. Well, so I don't. Okay. I mean, are you telling me they don't have the data showing that people who died were tested and found to have influenza A, B, C, or whatever? I mean, they have the data. Why wouldn't
they? Should have the data.
Not posting it?
They should have the data, right. But even on the corporate media, you hear them talking about the models. You know, they've revised the models.
All right. Yeah. So that's a big confusing thing, and I'm glad we spoke about it. Maybe I'm a little more clear on that. Now, we mentioned the other day, I talked to you about 5G, and you mentioned that you know what you thought about that. There's Dana Ashley put out a video on 5G, and if you got a minute, I can talk about this, or maybe I'll try to call in another time. There's other videos also. There's one that was on the RBN website by Catherine Horton, PhD, in particle physics. I found that to be very good, but I didn't find that Dana Ashley knew anything really about chemistry. And although she made good connections and observations that 5G may be having an effect, her talking about science and not knowing it was astounding to me. And I'm sure less than 1% of the people are really going to pick up on it because they don't know chemistry either. But basically, she said 60 gigahertz causes the electrons surrounding oxygen molecules to spin. Well, first of all, electrons have a plus 1/2 or minus 1/2 spin. This is well known. They're not being caused to have a spin. If she's saying that radiation is exciting the electron to a higher energy level, that's called electron spin resonance, or ESR, and that requires a strong magnetic field. And, you know, so, but if you go through her discussion, she's just basically confused on the specifics of the chemistry. But I think Dr. Catherine Horton, maybe you want to listen to her talk. It was also displayed on thelibertybeacon.com, and I found it to be very scientifically sound as far as I could tell. But I'd need to listen to it again to give you, you know, how this 5G could affect someone's breathing or et cetera. Okay? So that's all I really had to say today, Mike.
Okay, Dave, thanks an awful lot. Now, Dr. Mercola sent me a copy of his latest book, EMF'd, and I'm going through it still. And he seems to be of the same opinion that I am, you know, that 5G may or may not be a problem, but it's the sum total of all electromagnetic radiation that we should be concerned about, and that putting the focus only on 5G may not be wholly appropriate. And that's sort of the position I'm in right now. We know that the wavelength for the highest proposed band for 5G is 4 millimeter, which doesn't sound like an awful lot to people on the scale of human beings. But when you look at 4 millimeters compared to the size of an oxygen atom, or even most basic biochemical molecules, it's extraordinarily large. And so the idea that it's going to cause a lot of damage, I think, is remote. Now, yes, any electromagnetic energy has the potential to kick the electrons in an atom to a higher energy state. And when that electron falls back down to its ground state, it's going to re-release the energy in some other form, usually heat. And the idea is that, you know, with really high-powered electromagnetic fields coming on in, like a microwave oven, the heat will be enough to cook something. But the idea is that, CB radios and police radios, CB, I'm giving my age away here, radio, television broadcasts, and the low power cell phone towers, Wi-Fi, and so forth, the amount of heat energy generated by them is very, very small indeed. Okay, so that was Dave in New York. Let's switch over to Gabriel in New York. Aloha, Gabriel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to bring up something that you had brought up also, just to put into perspective that at least 250,000 people die a year of medical and pharmaceutical errors. And it's kind of funny how they point at 2,500 over here, but the mountain of 25,000 behind you, we don't point that.
Yes.
That's one thing. The other thought that I'd like to bring out to Dustin, that if the United States Constitution does not apply to him, it does apply to me. And that the government just can't willy-nilly tell me what to do without a court order. And we've had a case like this in New York in the late 1800s, and somebody was spreading typhus. And the persons, they gave the person who was doing it, a carrier or spreader, Typhoid Mary. We didn't lock the whole country down or New York City down. They locked Typhoid Mary down. So Dustin's taking the wrong approach. He's punishing everybody in the country for where we should address an issue with an individual. And that's all I got to say, Mike. I appreciate you taking my call.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And we're going to switch over to Mark in Florida. Mark's going to be our last call today because I got to start doing more news on this program here. Okay, Mark in Florida. Hello. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Mike. And I'll be quick. And I'm sort of piggybacking on the last caller that if Dustin doesn't want to get sick, Dustin can stay home. But I don't want Como and Schumer and that mad woman, governor of Michigan, telling me where I can and cannot go, whether I got to put a mask on my face or tie my shoes or not. I don't like this house arrest. I don't like 75. What do you call it? That intelligent marker IQ. 75 IQ cops just following orders, doing what they're told to do, and Como wants to fine the people $1,000 because they're standing too close to somebody. This isn't protection. This is a robbery. It's a military operation robbery. And if this corona is a bioweapon instead of something natural that occurs naturally, if it's a military grade bioweapon, we're not dying of a flu or corona. People are being murdered. This is called murder. It's a military weapon. And if it went from Canada to China to somebody let a fart and it went all over the world, it's called murder. But Justin, if you want to be safe, you stay home. Don't tell me what I can do on my own. I like golfing. I like sitting on my patio smoking cigarettes. Let me be and protect yourself, but keep your hands off of me. And I'm just like that with the governor and the president and anybody else. Keep your hands to yourself and I'll be fine. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you very
and
much.
ride that storm out, buddy.
Yeah, it's going to get loud tonight, I think. Anyway, Israeli troops have incurred into parts of Gaza with tanks and bulldozers as of yesterday, and apparently 4 army bulldozers as well as other armored vehicles drove several hundred meters deep into the northwestern part of the Gaza Strip town of Beit Lahia. Witnesses said the invasion took place from the so-called Zechem Israel military gate. And apparently they raised farmlands adjacent to the Israel-Gaza border fence. And this is something Israel has been doing for quite some time. They'll insist that the farming that's going along the border on the Palestinian side, mind you, impedes their ability to keep watch on the people of Gaza. So every once in a while they'll go on in and literally plow under the farms. And for that Gaza Strip, those farms are necessary. You know, these people are trying to grow enough food to live on, and Israel keeps bulldozing it under. Meanwhile, Mike Pompeo was out there threatening a total U.S. pullout from Afghanistan. Apparently his attitude is, if you won't let us win, we're just going to take our toys and we're going to go home. But apparently Pompeo told Ghani, Abdullah, that they would be held responsible if there's no power sharing deal that's being made. And last I heard, the talks with the Taliban fell apart over the issue of swapping prisoners of war. Now, down in Brazil, people are wondering if there's been a coup d'etat, because it's being reported that under pressure from the army, Walter Braga Neto is now the operational president of Brazil, with Bolsonaro effectively stripped of all decision-making authority. According to veteran Argentine investigative journalist Horacio Verbitsky, this has already been communicated informally to the Argentine authorities. There's no official or public confirmation yet. We were talking just yesterday about this fire around the Chernobyl forest. It's spread to 35 hectares, and of course, it is just spiking high levels of radiation all around the area and up into the air, and the wind is blowing it away. The reason for this is very simple. Plants will absorb the radioactive isotopes that are in the ground. It's called bioaccumulation. And believe it or not, one of the things that will be done to try and control a radioactive spill is plant a lot of greenery. And then the greenery draws the radioactive elements out of the soil. Then the plants are pulled up and buried along with the rest of the radioactive waste. But of course, all the plants and trees around the exclusion zone have been sucking up this radioactivity for years now. When it burns, it goes up in the smoke. So more problems over there, radiation there. Okay, the Pentagon is concerned about maintaining the strength of their force here. So they're considering new moves, including restarting the stop-loss program to maintain the force amid the coronavirus crisis. As I mentioned a little while ago, a fourth aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz, now has crewmen testing positive for COVID-19. All right. Getting into the economic news here, over in Italy, shoplifting of food has become epidemic because the average Italians are running out of cash. Increasing numbers of distressed Italians are faced by worsening financial problems due to the quarantine. Many are running out of money. And we're talking about those who have a job, but they were left without help from the Salary Payment Guarantee Fund. Our post office here in the United States may be looking at closure in June without an outside funding source. So they're looking for a bailout as well here. Now, one of our callers before was talking about unemployment, guaranteed unemployment. The problem with that is that New York and many other states, they don't have enough money for the unemployment fund. Now, there's taxes that are paid by your employer for the privilege of hiring you, and out of that comes the money that goes into the unemployment insurance fund. But so many people are now filing for uninsurance, something like 10 million across the country, that they don't have the money. So the unemployment checks may stop. Trump is still out there saying that illegal immigrants are not eligible for stimulus checks. They came in illegally. Of course, Democrats, liberal Democrats are out there saying absolutely the illegals should be getting the money. No, the legal American citizens should come at the head of the line. If there's anything left over, maybe. But remember, those illegal immigrants, they're not supposed to be here. They committed a crime just by stepping across the border. Why are they getting benefits? If they're afraid of coronavirus, if they can't make it here, they should go home. Problem solved here. All righty. Top bankers finally take a pay cut in the face of the coronavirus. Lloyd's, HSBC, RBS are not included in that. And RBS is backed by the taxpayers. And finally, Ted Butler is over there saying JP Morgan is perfectly positioned for this massive gold and silver bull run. This is a time to be looking at investing or sheltering your wealth in precious metals. We got to take a break for commercials. Back with the last segment of our program after these few words. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Last segment of our program today. U.S. Airlines want a $50 billion bailout. They spent $45 billion buying back their stock. And yes, we'd like the airlines to stay in business. If they go out of business, it would add more instability to our economy, endanger even more jobs. But I think the government, meaning we the people, deserve an equity position. And certainly companies like Boeing, for example, are saying, no, just give us the money. You don't get an equity position in our company. Well, I think somebody ought to put their foot down on that one and say, no, if you're going to get this kind of money from the American people, what do the American people get back? At least they could go back to giving us the free peanuts when we fly. What can I tell you? All righty, China's ports are bracing for a second hit as the virus spread wipes out exports. And China's trying to get their economy back on. Apparently, they've lifted the lockdown over in Wuhan, and everybody's out and about. They're riding the trains. The same thing will happen here. As soon as the lockdown is lifted, the amusement parks are going to be absolutely jam-packed full. People are going to be, it's going to be a 2-hour wait at the restaurants. Things will snap back fairly quickly, I think. But, the long-term damage is definitely going to be there. Apparently, American Airlines has once again drawn some negative publicity. They had 11 passengers on a flight, and they crammed them all into just 3 rows because they only bought basic economy. And even though the rest of the plane was empty, they wouldn't let them sit in either business class or just spread them out to get the social distancing. Now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is calling for coronavirus reparations for black people because apparently the black population, along with the Latino population, seems more susceptible to this illness. And Alexandria is claiming environmental racism is an underlying health condition. I don't even know what the term is supposed to mean, environmental racism. But COVID deaths are disproportionately spiking in black and brown communities because the chronic toll of redlining, environmental racism, wealth gap, etc., are underlying health conditions. Anyway, the good news is the illegal immigration across our southern border is plunging. People don't want to come here. They don't want to get sick. Good. There's one positive thing that's coming out of that. Meanwhile, over in Austria, they're saying that EU migrant redistribution has failed. They're refusing to accept any more asylum seekers. That whole EU could come apart because of coronavirus. You've already got the individual member states are following their own guidance relative to the coronavirus. Brussels is very upset that they can't set a national, or rather a union-wide policy and have it followed here. The FDA has pulled all forms of the popular heartburn drug Zantac from the market, warning of impurities, and apparently the impurities are carcinogenic. So the Zantac is definitely gone. Too bad for everybody who's taken it between it was introduced and the recall here. Okay, and let's see. Gun sales skyrocketed in March. Retailers record 2.5 million sales. That's a new U.S. record. People are out there just buying their guns. All right, there's the music. Time for us to end the show here. Time for me to get out of here and do something useful with the rest of the day. Time for me to go on out and look for those tornadoes they say are coming in for us here. All right, so stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. We really do need it. And we wouldn't ask if we didn't need it because we know you're struggling the same way that we are. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.